Hello and welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name's Cheyenne, and if you don't know very much about me, I am currently a full-time vet student, part-time baking, cooking, making things enthusiast, and I, like many other people, am a huge fan of Claire Saffitz, so I just knew when her book Dessert Person came out I had to get my hands on it. A huge shout out to my mom for buying it for me. I am so excited to try out some of the recipes in this book. Today I want to test out, and by test I mean try because I am by no means a professional, but I want to try out one of the recipes from her book, the chocolate chip cookies. I chose this recipe because the chocolate chip cookies are one of the easier recipes in her book, and of course they are a classic dessert. Currently my favorite chocolate chip recipe comes from the New York Times, and it's by David Leet, and I actually do have some of that dough in my freezer just from a care package that I sent out recently, so I thought it would be fun to try and compare the two. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. For the ingredients, you'll need 2 sticks of unsalted butter, 2 tablespoons of whole milk, heavy cream, or half and half, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda plus 2 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal kosher salt. If you only have Morton salt like I do, then you can either measure it out to 6 grams or you can use half of the volume, which would be 1 teaspoon. Then you'll also need 3/4 of a cup of dark brown sugar packed, 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, 2 eggs cold from the fridge, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and then 5 ounces of milk chocolate and 5 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. You are supposed to use discs and chop half of it up, but I only found chocolate chips at the grocery store. Alright, so to this large bowl, I am going to add half of the butter, so 1 stick. I'm going to set that aside. And then in this saucepan, I am going to add the other stick of butter, and we're going to brown this butter on the stovetop. While that's going on the stovetop, I am going to go ahead and add in my baking soda and my salt into my flour mixture. Then we're just going to go ahead and whisk that all together. Alright, so now we're going to take our brown butter and walk it back over and pour in the rest of the butter. And 1 second, let me scrape out all those brown bits. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add in our liquid as well. So I used whole milk, but you can use heavy cream or half and half. Alright, so I set aside the brown butter and milk mixture to cool, and I already prepped all of my dry ingredients as you saw earlier, so just gotta wait now. Alright, this mixture has cooled down considerably, and as you can see I broke up some of that solidified butter a little bit so it could be evenly warmed up by the brown butter. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the sugars. Maybe. There we go. So there's the brown sugar, and then granulated sugar. Then we're just going to whisk this up vigorously, if I can. And you really just want to make sure, because there are still some chunks of that solid butter, it's pretty softened, but just make sure that you mix it up well to get that all incorporated. Alright, so that looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my eggs out of the fridge. So I'm going to add in my vanilla extract, and then I'll do 1 egg. And then another egg. Next, we're going to go ahead and throw in that flour mixture. I'm just going to do all of it at once. And I am going to go ahead and switch over to my spatula. All right, finally we are going to add in our chocolate. Again, I only had chocolate chips, but thankfully they are 2 different sizes, so hopefully that helps to add to that like textural variation. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dump it in. As you can see, this is a pretty moist cookie dough, so we are just going to go ahead and set this aside for a little bit and let it firm up before we scoop this onto our sheet tray. All right, it's been about 5 minutes or so, so I am going to take my 1/4 cup scoop. I do not have an ice cream scoop, so I'm just using this, and I'm going to portion this out, and it's supposed to make about 18 cookies, so let's get scooping. All right, so as you can see, I only ended up with about 15 cookies, which is fine. Mine will just be slightly larger, but I am going to go ahead and just saran wrap these and stick them in the freezer. Then we'll come back tomorrow and bake one off. Hello and welcome back to day 2 of trying out Claire Safffitz's chocolate chip cookies from Dessert Person and comparing them to the New York Times recipe by David Leite. Currently, my oven is preheating to 350, and both of the recipes actually call for baking the cookies for about 18 to 22 minutes. So basically, I'm just going to take a few rounds of dough from Claire's recipe and then a few rounds of dough from David Leite's recipe and bake them side by side. Then we'll give it a taste. Also, before we do the taste test, I did just want to throw out a quick disclaimer. I did make a couple of changes to the written recipe by David Leite. First, I used a different type of flour. I used all-purpose flour, and the recipe calls for both cake flour and bread flour. I know there's some variation in the protein content between the three, but I believe that all-purpose flour has like kind of an average between the two, so hopefully that doesn't make too big of a difference. I did weigh everything, so the weight measurement should be correct on that. And then also, his recipe calls for all bittersweet chocolate, and I use semi-sweet because that's just what I prefer. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I also just wanted to say that because I did previously make the New York Times recipe, obviously the dough isn't going to be as fresh. I had those in the freezer and I pulled them out of the freezer and moved them into the fridge, so they weren't like frozen hard or anything, but the dough will not be quite as fresh, but when I've baked them from the freezer before, they've tasted just fine. So okay, so here are the cookies on the tray. These down here are Claire's cookies. And then up here are the cookies from the New York Times. I know they look a bit dry, but they were in the freezer for a while. But I do want to say that I noticed a difference in the moisture content when I was making them. Claire's seemed way more moist and just hydrated. Every time I make the ones from the New York Times, they do come out a bit more dry and crumbly. They bake off just fine, but that is pretty much the texture every time I make them. And yeah, I am going to go ahead and throw these in the oven. So I need to flip them around. Oh my goodness. On first glance, Claire's cookies are spreading out a lot. Those are huge. The other ones, not so much yet. It's been about 12 minutes. All right, so here's what they're looking like out of the oven. Here are the New York Times cookies. As you can see, they're a bit more irregular and crumbly in shape, and I did use a spatula to flatten them down a little bit. And then here are Claire's cookies. They're kind of wrinkly around the edges, and they are huge because I accidentally did not portion them correctly. I'd say that this texture is pretty similar to how they usually look when I make them. Maybe slightly more crumbly just because, again, they were in the freezer previously. But I did make a video making these cookies a while ago, so I can insert some clips here. So now we will add our chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Wow, oh man, I just did arm day yesterday. This is gonna hurt. I'll just do like half of that, because like, do we really need 2 bags worth of chocolate chips? Probably not. Refrigerate for 24 to 36 hours. Okay, so we won't be doing that. Anyways, I'm not gonna bake all of these at once because like, look at that. That is a lot. So I'll probably refrigerate these for like half an hour to an hour. Then I'll cook off my first batch, and then whatever I don't cook, it can stay in the fridge for longer. No tea, there's no tea. Oh, Oh no!
What?
I don't know what Greek saying. Oh, you dang. Tanner should meet another dog. You don't like dogs. Absolutely not. Ooh. Hopefully they're a little more done now. Oh yeah, that looks good. So as you can see, they don't look fully 100% done, like they're really close, but that is, oops, the secret to getting cookies, ooh, these are a little too done, that are soft on the inside and crispy on the outside, because they still cook while you leave them on the pan, so you have to take them out. You have to take them out of the oven slightly prematurely so that they don't get burnt, although these ones are looking a little extra brown, but that's okay. So yeah. And then I can also link that video down below and we'll kind of do a comparison and see how similar they look. But if you do want to see a full video of me making these and reviewing them and everything, then I will have that video linked down below. Okay, so I got Daniel and got both of the cookies here and then a glass of almond milk. So which one?
I didn't realize it was almond milk.
Yeah. Which one would you like to try first? He doesn't know which one's which.
This one.
This one?
This one looks super chunky.
Oh wow. Here you go. It's a pretty good chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. I was gonna say it kind of tastes like the
Wow.
ones you usually make.
It does. So. Also very good. Which one do you like better? The taste is slightly different, but I can't tell which one I like better.
The way the taste is mostly is really pretty similar, but I like the texture on these ones way more.
That's fair. These were
And you also
in the
know.
freezer for.
Well, is that why it came out so chunky like that?
Well, these usually are more crumbly. This is Claire's cookie, and hers was like a little more moist than this one. So, I mean, it's kind of.
I mean, it probably got dehydrated sitting in the.
Yeah,
that's
but this
why.
texture is still also kind of normal.
No, I
for
think I
this.
prefer this one for sure.
Okay, Daniel prefers Claire's cookie. I don't know, man. I really love the New York Times recipe.
You have to pick one of those, otherwise it's a cop-out.
I don't know. They're both so good.
They are very similar taste-wise.
They are. There's like a slight difference, but not enough to... They're both fantastic. If you like brown butter in your cookie, then definitely go for Claire's cookie because she does use half brown butter. Maybe that's like the slight difference in flavor, but overall I think they both taste really good. The texture on Claire's cookie is a little bit better, but again, the New York Times cookie was in the freezer for a while, but the crumbly texture is kind of normal for that, so...
So are you really not going to pick one?
I can't. You said yourself they taste similar.
They taste similar.
Yeah, I can't.
Is there a difference in amount of, like the ratio of chips to like cookie? Because these ones are like more concentrated with chips.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just because it's a random draw of the cookie.
Maybe actually no. The New York Times recipe always has like every cookie is always loaded with.
Okay, so that's what I thought too. So that's the other reason why I like the other one more because I don't like that many chocolate chips.
That's true.
So I just picked out two different ways that I like the other one more. That's crazy.
I'm not gonna choose. They're both delicious. Honestly, though, I really thought that I was going to be able to pick one like as a clear winner, but I don't know. The New York Times is a classic. I love it. Like I said, that's always been my favorite recipe. But Claire's cookie is so good too. So you really can't go wrong either way. I know that's a total cop-out, but I genuinely cannot pick one. All right, I'm back. After careful consideration, I have decided to choose a winner. Daniel made me feel very pressured to do it, but he was right. Oh. I do have to pick one. And so I think because I prefer kind of like a gooier texture, I am going to go with the New York Times cookie. Claire's cookie is just slightly more bready, and you know, it's not a bad thing by any means. It still tastes delicious, but I do prefer the gooier texture. So there you go. I finally picked one. Again, they're both delicious, so feel free to make either one, whichever one you have all the ingredients on hand for. They're both fantastic. So that is my final take. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what other recipes you want to see from Dessert Person, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!